Hi, everyone. I think I know a lot of you. I'm Judy Browse, the Executive Director of NAAEE, and I am so thrilled to introduce Matt Scott in this session. And the good part is, that's all I'm here to do, is just say welcome and have Matt take it away, because we are talking about climate heroes in your neighborhood with Project Drawdown. Thank you, Matt, for being here, an amazing storyteller, and just a great career. So thank you, Matt. Come on up.
Thank you so much. And I'm gonna put this guy down. Awesome, there we go. Yeah, all set. How's everyone doing? All right. And as we just get started, I was telling someone, I don't bite. Please come on up, because we're gonna have one. It'll be great to see more folks in this area, but also just a spoiler for what to expect. We'll have some moments and points where there'll be an opportunity to turn and connect with one another. So if you're able to come on up, it's much appreciated. It's very funny seeing myself on video as I'm doing this. But yeah, just to start out, I'm Matt Scott. I am the Director of Storytelling and Engagement at the global nonprofit climate solutions resource project Drawdown. And you could find me, as you saw on the last slide, on social media at MattScottGW. But more importantly, you could follow Project Drawdown, tag Project Drawdown at Project Drawdown. And I'm just gonna dive in and get us started a bit here for today. Because just to ground us for a second, I feel like I need to take a breath. So could I invite everyone just for a second to take a deep breath in with me and then exhale? Could we do that together in a second? All right, just a inhale. A nice deep exhale. Whew. Yeah, oh my gosh, it's definitely been a week. And yeah, someone's like, yeah, to say the least, understating it, thank you. But it's definitely been a week, and I just want to say, I didn't prepare exactly when to say in this point, but just want to say, I'm so thankful to be here as part of the conference. I'm so thankful to be here with each and every one of you. Just recognizing everything in our world with elections and the rest, I really was excited to come here and to be here with all of you, because this is a space where I'm hoping we can embrace, I'm gonna say the magic word, we can embrace our power. All right, can everyone just say, oh, we could do a round of applause for power. Yeah, I just want to see, could everyone just say power with me on the count of 3? 1, 2, 3, power. Could everyone do that? Yeah. All right. So 1, 2, 3, power. That wasn't as powerful as I hoped it was gonna be. And I get it, I get it. But maybe we could do that once more, we believe it, we're feeling it. 1, 2, 3, power. Okay, just once more. But this is to get everyone else in the room who didn't feel the power and say the power. I want everyone, the whole hotel, to feel their power. So just one more time before I dive in. 1, 2, 3. Power! Woo! Thank you. Just a round of applause. Whew. It's so easy to feel disempowered in our world, whether we're talking about climate change, whether we're talking about anything else. But I think what's so important and so magical, and one thing I admire about this group, and I'll get into it more, is that each of you are using your power in one way or the other, whether that is in a climate career, doing the work that you're doing, or volunteering in some way when it comes to climate and justice issues, whether that's in your classrooms or communities or whoever you connect with as an educator. There's so much power that you all have, and there are a lot of people who want you to think that you don't have that power, that you can't make that difference. And so I just want to invite us into this space to not only be inspired by the stories we hear today, but to be inspired by one another and the conversations we have. So without further ado, I told you I really didn't prepare much here. That was just out from my heart. But I want to get us started and introduce someone who's very powerful, someone who will welcome us to this space through the power of song, the one and only Clara Katongo. who is the Tree Equity Manager at Tree Pittsburgh, but also an incredible performer and artist. Clara, come on up. So, you can take it away. You can take it away.
Everyone feeling? Are you feeling powerful? All right. So this song that I'm going to sing to bring us into this space is called "You Are," and I wrote this song originally because a friend had lost their father, and I didn't know how to inspire this person, but I didn't know what to say. So it was like a loss, and I think it's a way we can resonate and tap into who we are, even when things may not be, what we want them to be like in many different circumstances. So this is "You Are." Enjoy. Every time it's cloudy and the sun comes out, it's you, it's you. Every time it's cloudy and the sun comes out, it's you, it's you. You are, it's true. You are. Cloudy weather, we sit together, have the tea and talk about it. There's no need to pretend you're alright. Better to see exactly where you stand. Then you can move one step forward. Once you understand where you are, you can determine what you want to do with your life. You are. It's true that you are. Every time it's cloudy and the sun comes out, it's you. Say it. It's you. Every time it's cloudy and the sun comes out, it's you. It's you. You are. It's true. You are. Many of times we think others can write our own life for us. The sooner we realize we are the author, we'll begin to fly. Taking on challenges as a way to just expand our capacity, and finding the way never to say no. Oh, make up your reality. Every time it's cloudy and the sun comes out, yeah. Every time it's cloudy and the sun comes out, it's you. It's you. You are. It's true. You are. If we are going to change reality, we gotta find a new equality. Let the people express divine unity by being who they are. If we are going to find humanity's new existence in a new reality, we gotta respect each other and find our own. You are. Where you at? It's true. You know the chorus now? Come on, let's sing it together. Every time it's cloudy and the sun comes out, it's you. It's you. Where you at? Every time it's cloudy and the sun comes out, it's you. It's you. You are. It's true. You are.
Oh. You're amazing. Awesome. Can we just give it up again for Clara? And also, if you just came in, thank you for being here. Just to let you know, Clara's going to be performing again as we go along. So feel free to come on up, to get closer. We have tons of seats over here also, but let's get into it. There we go. Let's see. So just to start us out, Clara is one of the local climate heroes featured in Drawdown's Neighborhood, a climate solutions short docuseries, which I'll tell you a bit about. You can find that at drawdown.org/neighborhood. And I'm really thankful that we produced the series in collaboration, not only as Project Drawdown, but in collaboration with Dowd's Studio. Eric Dowds was up here dancing, backup dancing for Clara. And also Change Narrative, which does curriculum supplements like discussion questions and learning and action resources on the website. But before I dive into more about Project Drawdown, about storytelling and all, I'm gonna show you just the trailer from Drawdown's Neighborhood Pittsburgh, which was the first season or series of the docuseries. So let's take a look.
My name is Richard Tumshime.
I'm Dr. Erica Cochran-Hameen.
My name is Veni Mittal.
Hi, I'm Sean Taylor.
I'm Angie Martinez.
I'm Brandon Walton.
Hey, my name is Clara Kitongo. And I'm helping the world reach Drawdown.
I'm helping reach Drawdown.
And I'm helping the world reach Drawdown.
By planting a lot of solar into houses.
Through management of public space and LED streetlights.
Through land restoration and tree planting.
By doing community-driven sustainability projects.
By vehicle electrification.
Through creating pathways for healthy and sustainable and energy efficiency buildings and retrofit opportunities.
Hey, look at that. You'll hear from some of them live today and also watch clips from their episodes and a couple more. And again, you could watch full episodes at drawdown.org/neighborhood, but let's get right into it. So as we start out, I want to ask you a question. I know you all have different roles, so some of you work more broadly with communities, but for the sake of simplicity, I want to invite you to think about for a second, what do you share with your students or communities when it comes to climate change? Like, think of that. Maybe there's a word, a couple of words that come to mind. Think about like a word, because I'm going to ask you all, I haven't done this before, but I'm going to ask you all to shout that out at the same time. You know I like the count of 3. I did the 1, 2, 3 power. I'm going to, on the count of 3, I hope you have your word ready. This is going to be awesome. So on the count of 3, could you share that word that comes to mind? What do you share with your students when it comes to climate change? 1, 2, 3. I didn't get any of that. But no, it's awesome, and I'm glad that you have that, and I hope you heard some of what each other shared. That was great. I heard passion, I think. Okay, yeah, I got passion. But then I want to ask you to think about this other question. Who or what got you engaged in climate change and climate solutions? You know the deal. Let's do this again, like on the count of 3, a word, a couple words. I would love if you could shout it out. Who or what got you engaged? So, well, on a count of 3, I heard Bill Nye. Bill Nye, yes, shout out to Bill Nye. But on the count of 3, could everyone shout it out? 1, 2, 3. I really got nothing there, but I did hear Bill Nye before, which is good. But I ask these questions because so often I heard teachers. Did someone say teachers? Okay, I heard teachers. But so often when I ask what people share, they'll mention the statistics, the data, the news, the crisis, and then when I ask what it is that they, what it is that engage them, it's the more human things. It's stories, it's teachers, it's parents, it's family. Like often people will mention family members and experiences with them. This is so cute. Often people will mention their experiences in nature and ways that they connect with nature firsthand, or they'll mention like more negative experiences with pollution. This is a picture of, at the time, a 15-year-old named Jordan who had asthma and lived in Detroit and was affected by that pollution in his community. Often, though, people will mention, as many of you did, teachers as being the folks who got them engaged. And I just have to say, as I started out, like teachers are so incredibly powerful. This is me with my mom on my graduation day. On my graduation day from college, and my mom was a teacher formerly for 30 years, actually, as a college professor, teaching like sociology and world religions and all sorts of other topics. And that was her superpower. And I know for so many of you, like that is the superpower that you bring. And I think especially like in this time, not only dealing with the climate crisis, but thinking of elections and rights and everything else, so many people, young people in particular, are lost and dazed and confused and not sure where to go. But you all have a superpower, at least one superpower, in connecting with communities, in engaging them, in getting them on board. And again, I think it's so powerful to think of all the people on the other end who could benefit from, who could be engaged by, who could learn from just you sharing your story, using your superpowers in that way. And so right now, I want to invite everyone on a journey. I gotta ask, can we embrace our power? On the count of 3, could we say power again? I love that word, because honestly, even just that word evokes a lot of strength and helps me stand up a little taller in this point, but on the count of 3, can we just say power? You could do that? Okay. 1, 2, 3. Power! Oh, that felt, I have goosebumps right now. But let me start out telling you a little bit about Project Drawdown, because I want to really get through this to get to some of the clips from our Drawdowns neighborhood series in a bit. Project Drawdown is a global nonprofit climate solutions resource, and Project Drawdown really focuses on helping stop climate change through 3 key things. So one is through the science of climate solutions, and in 2017, the Drawdown book was released, highlighting about 100 climate solutions in our world today. And our science team keeps updating that information on our website, drawdown.org, so no need to get the book. We do this work through working with stakeholders, so helping them figure out how to implement climate solutions. And then finally, where my work really comes in is with the stories that we tell around climate change and climate solutions, and helping people see themselves, see their role, see heroes, and people who are making a positive difference to help us all see that like everyday people can actually make a difference in our communities and are making a difference in our communities. One reason that the storytelling work is so important, and this is a diagram based on research by psychologist and economist Per Espen-Stoknes, and he talks about the ways that just throwing the climate news at people, just throwing the statistics and data at people affects them. And so when we just throw the news, the crisis, the statistics, the data at people, it results in a sense of distance, a sense of doom, a sense of cognitive dissonance, a sense of denial, and even conflicts with identity, especially political identities. But Per talks about the benefit of stories, and not just any stories, but stories that are social and feature characters we could relate to, characters that we see ourselves in, characters that are just human. Stories that are simple and not overwhelming. So often when we talk about climate change, it's at this broad global level, but how about what happens if we talk about that through the lens of someone like Clara Katongo or someone like one of the local climate heroes you'll hear from today? It's important that we tell stories that signal progress in terms of the emissions and the science and the data, but also, I don't know about any of you, I've been working at Project Drawdown 4 years, and I still can't picture what a gigaton of carbon looks like. And so it's important that we also talk about the ways that we're supporting the things that people care about and see and connect with most. How are we supporting joy in communities? How are we improving health, equity, saving people money, improving the economy, creating jobs through climate solutions? And so it's important that we tell stories that do all of that. And so I asked you this question earlier of who or what got you engaged with climate change and climate solutions, and it's only fair that I share my own story. This is a picture of me. If you all want to do like an aww. I'm sorry I made you do that. I appreciate that though. But this is a picture of me with my dad as a kid. And I'm so sorry. But yeah, a picture of me with my dad as a kid, and I, like most kids, like loved and connected with stories. And actually, one of the first stories I connected with. Does anyone want to shout out what this is? Captain Planet and the Planeteers, yes. And I feel like I was such a fan of these different like ensemble superhero groups. But as I got older, for one, like I know many of us have probably had assignments in school where we're asked like write about a hero in your life, or write about a hero you know. So they wouldn't let me write about Captain Planet. I would write about like Martin Luther King for a while, but then I eventually started to write about my dad as my hero. I didn't even have to ask for that one. I like you all a lot. You're fun. But I talk about my dad as a hero of mine, in part because this is a picture of a classroom where he grew up in Prince Edward County, Virginia. And he grew up in the civil rights era. This is a picture from the 1950s when he was a student there. And at that time, black and white students were segregated and went to school separately. And when the Supreme Court ruled that that was no longer okay, the Prince Edward County government, the Virginia government, actually shut down the schools in Prince Edward County rather than integrating them. Not just for a week or a month or a year, but for 5 whole years, in Prince Edward County, Virginia, they did not have access to public school. Yeah, I know, it's not great. But I share this not only to share the fact that that's a story that is not widely known and not told as widely as it should be, but also to share that my dad was not just defined by that story. My dad, pictured in the top in the light-colored suit in the back, moved away and was given the opportunity to move away from Prince Edward County, Virginia. Only like a handful of students lived with white strangers in an especially contentious time. And not only did he finish high school, but he graduated from an HBCU, Howard University, served as a captain in the military, went to and graduated from Harvard University, where he met my mom, pictured here. My mom's getting a lot of airtime for not being in this room, but she's amazing too. And they started a family. I'm the cute one in the. Could everyone just do the awe again? This is really helping my ego. But this is me with my dad as he served the community. Me in my awkward teen phase. I'm gonna keep going. But my dad made such a positive impact in his community, serving elderly people, and inspired by losing his mom, actually. And so in 2017, when my dad was diagnosed with a rare form of leukemia and passed away, I was at a loss. I think many of us could probably connect with loss in a lot of different ways. Some of us with losing a parent or something, someone like that in our lives who means a lot. But for me, when I lost my dad, I actually was kind of pushed to realize no one else was telling his story. I was afraid that no one would know the amazing person he was, which always inspired me. And so that's the thing that pushed me to go out and start to interview people, connect with people, start to tell people's stories. And that's the thing that ultimately led me to the work I do at Project Drawdown with this storytelling program. Because so many of us don't share our stories, don't share our voices, don't share who we are. And yet that's critical, because whether or not we believe it, even if we have imposter syndrome around it, our stories, we have power that has the power to inspire others and to help others make the impact in the world, to really push forward a ripple effect that does that. And so I started 4 years ago, started the Drawdown Stories program at Project Drawdown. I mentioned the Drawdown's Neighborhood Climate Solution Short docuseries, which is at the heart of that, drawdown.org/neighborhood. Again, big shout out to Dowd Studio and Change Narrative as part of that. And the very first city, believe it or not, that we featured people in was Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Woo! And from Pittsburgh, we went to Atlanta, Georgia. It's okay if you don't cheer for the other cities as much, I get. But Atlanta, Georgia. We went to the Twin Cities, Minneapolis and St. Paul, New Orleans, Louisiana, Newark, New Jersey, New Haven, Connecticut, the Bronx, New York, and very recently, the San Francisco Bay Area. And so I'm just so proud because these are all of the 55 folks that we've been able to connect with and highlight to date. But that top row is all Pittsburghers. It's really amazing. Erica, Tom, Sarah, Clara, Sean, Paige, Alexis. We have Angie, we have Brandon, we have Venny, and then Richard on the second line. And I think what's so powerful is that each of their stories isn't just about the climate action that they're taking, but it's about who they are as people. Like, what brings them joy? What are the things they love? What is it that they're good at? What's the work that needs to be done or the problems that they want to solve? That's what led to that climate action. And I know people love the climate action Venn diagram. Just shout out to Ayanna Elizabeth Johnson, who's really popularized this, yes. But I think what's so amazing is that we are more than just our action. Each of us have things that we're good at, things that we care about, problems we want to solve. And I think what's beautiful about the climate movement is we could show up and make a difference in whatever way we want to within that. And so these are two pictures here. One is a cute kid wearing a cape to point out that any of us could we could put on the cape. Not all heroes wear capes, something like that. This is actually a picture of my nephew. I couldn't decide which one to do, but honestly, I had some point in my head around, like, we could be heroes, we could make a difference. My nephew could be a hero, we're fighting for his future, all that stuff. But he's just adorable, so that's like the main reason I include that. But what I want to do is actually show you clips from 4 of the episodes of Drawdown's Neighborhood, beginning with a clip from the Drawdown's Neighborhood episode featuring the one and only Sarah Alexic of Duquesne Light Company. So let's take a look at what Sarah had to share.
Pick an area of climate solutions that you're particularly interested in and understand how we've gotten to the way things are. The more that you learn about all of these different pieces, the more that you will be able to identify where you want to fit in and the different levers that you can pull to influence change. My name is Sarah Alexak, and I'm the manager of Transportation Electrification at Duquesne Light Company in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Today we're at Duquesne Light's Operations Center on the north side of Pittsburgh in a neighborhood called Manchester. Like a lot of families in the Pittsburgh area, my family definitely has a past of working in coal and steel, and they began that time in central Pennsylvania in the coal mines. So most of my family was from Slovakia, and they immigrated to the US for a better life, like so many people do. And after working in the coal mines, my great-grandfather said that he wanted an even better life for his children, so he moved the family to Pittsburgh so that they could work in the steel mills. And that's what my grandfather did, and it's what my father had a career in steel as well.
Could you talk more about your path?
After deciding that I wanted, a different path in going to college and pursuing something where I felt like I could make a difference in a way to our world, I think as a lot of kids that are going off to college, they want to make an impact.
What advice do you have for people to take on a career that is making impact when it comes to the environment, similar to what you do?
One of the things that I would say is immerse yourself in the issue. And when I say that, I mean get to really know the issue, get to know the players. Pick an area of climate solutions that you're particularly interested in and understand how we've gotten to the way things are. Understand the different players and the participants. Who are the nonprofits working in this space? Who's the industry, the academic researchers? What are the government agencies that are involved in funding research or monitoring regulatory issues? The more that you learn about all of these different pieces, the more that you will be able to identify where you want to fit in and the different levers that you can pull to influence change.
Could we give it up for Sarah? All right, we're gonna keep rolling. Sarah will be up on stage in a little bit along with everyone else you'll hear from, but let's keep this rolling. Next up, the one and only Erica Cochran-Hameen, who well, you'll see.
I'm happy that the issues of equity and understanding the connection between climate change and equity, I'm happy that people are understanding that they go together. You know, when people say, I care about sustainability, I care about climate change, you can't do that and not care about equity. They just have to go together in the same conversation.
How do you introduce yourself to people? You have such like an extended bio, so how do you like sum that up?
Well, if I'm introducing myself, I would just say Erica. So that's to start there. I'm a professor, I'm an academic, I'm a researcher. I research sustainable design and energy efficiency and equitable design and social justice issues related to the built environment. I am the Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion and co-director of our Center for Building Performance and Diagnostics. And that's a lot in one mouthful, but normally I would just say Erica.
Yeah.
When I was working in New York, and I was doing a lot of building renovations and retrofits, especially public sector work. And one of the things that for me was just very eye-opening was seeing differences in education and the school system. And I'd go to one neighborhood and the schools were beautiful. And then I'd go to another neighborhood and things were just falling apart. And sometimes, unfortunately, the difference in the two neighborhoods was about wealth and income or immigrant status. And I thought, well, this isn't right. Just because they're brown or black or because they're not from America or they, a low-income neighborhood, why don't they get a good school? It's still the same city. It's still, we're all using our public tax dollars to educate them. So why don't they have the same thing? And so, I started just reading more about it. But that got me so interested to say, wow, I've got to learn more. I have to learn more. I thought, well, I can do something about that. I'm a designer. I can solve this problem. I always think I can solve a problem. Whenever I see a problem, I can fix that. This is how my brain works. I see something and I think, we can work together. That's one of the things I do enjoy about being here at Carnegie Mellon is the multidisciplinary nature of how everyone works, that I can be in architecture and still also work with my computer science people and policy people, engineering and statistics people, and think on a global scale. Because I think that God blessed me with this desire and this passion, and isn't it my job to use that blessing to help as many people as I can and not keep it to myself?
Give it up for Erica. And the thing that I love just about those first two clips, especially just the curiosity, like pick something that you're interested in, dive deep into it, ask questions. Like you need to watch the full episodes from both of them because they really both dive in a bit more, but let's keep it rolling. And here is another episode from the one and only Benny Middle.
At the end of the day, if I'm able to help one person, that makes me feel good and it feels okay. My life is worth if I'm able to help someone. My name is Veni Mittal, and I'm originally from India and came to the States in 2014 when I got married here. I belong from a town which is in a northern part of India. Honestly, I have never thought that I would be at this place by this time, because if I see myself like let's say 20 years back, I don't know, like I have never realized that okay, this is what I want to do in my life. In India, I used to work for an environmental firm and I have an environmental engineering background, and then I came to the US, I also did my another master's, And then I started interning for American Eagle Outfitters. That's where I get to know, okay, there is sustainability area where you can do so many things. And I got really lucky when I landed up at Green Building Alliance, and that's where my overall journey began, where I am now. I got really lucky that I got a chance to volunteer with Etna Community Organization, and yeah, I was awarded for the community champion because of my volunteering work in Etna, and I was not even an Etna resident. But the love, the respect that people gave me and the work they were doing, that actually was amazing. And I realized what a community can do. Basically, making a community green is something that we can do to combat climate change. I'm not saying that we have to do some big steps, but small steps can really make a big difference. And that's what we have seen. Everyone knows about Etna because it's now the first eco-district certified community in the world. So that was a big thing, and it was achieved by normal people who live in that community who used to volunteer every single time.
Is there any advice you have for young people for them to find their place? Because that's not just about your career, but that's about your community and so much more.
So I think the one suggestion that I would like to give to any person, let's say to a high school person, just don't doubt yourself. Even if you have to explore multiple areas, just explore. Don't think that, oh, you are wasting your time. It's not about wasting your time. It's about exploring your skill set, exploring your interests, and you never know where you land up eventually. So it's all about exploring, and never hesitate to go forward, never hesitate to initiate. And if you want to see the change, be the change you want to see in the world.
Yes, there we go. Incredible. And before we welcome all four of them up to the stage, one more clip featuring, you already heard her sing at the beginning, Clara Katongo. Here we go.
Part of finding the voice is really bringing your true and most authentic self to the space, because then it allows people to come in their true and most authentic self into the space.
Could you introduce yourself? Like, who are you?
I'm Clara Kitongo. I come from Uganda. That's where I was born and raised all my life.
But could you talk about what you decided to study in college and how you figured out what you would study?
As a kid, I wanted to be a teacher and a musician. Those were my two things. Very early, I decided to be an aeronautic engineer, to become an astronaut, and then eventually to be an architect, and then eventually to be a civil engineer. So I ended up, applying to Carnegie Mellon to do civil engineering because it was the one school I knew, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna pursue this dream and become a civil engineer. And I did those classes. They were really amazing, learning how structures work, how soil works. But then I didn't want to build bridges, like concrete bridges. I was like, this is not really making me feel like I'm adding value. I was like a black girl in Pittsburgh, and most of the people who are working in this field were white men, older white men. So I instantly cut myself out of civil engineering, literally just because I didn't see anyone who looked like me in that field. So of course, people like Wangari Maathai made it even much easier, because in that class with Danielle, I learned about the Green Belt movement, which Wangari Maathai had started with poor women in Kenya, really turning a place that had been basically like deforested to build houses, now turned into a forest. So what can I do that makes me feel less anxious is the actual work of maybe planting a tree or being connected with kids who are doing work like that. Makes me feel like, okay, I'm doing something now. Because sometimes we don't know that we have a superpower.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the journey of my own life, is realizing, oh, actually because you're born in Uganda, and you have this unique experience that is in itself a superpower because of the perspective that you're bringing to the table. I come into the US with many layers, being an immigrant. On the surface, I'm African American, but I'm really African. So there was like, where do I really fit in, and how do I find my voice in all of this space. The truest thing for me is that the environment connects me to all of those experiences, be it as an African woman or an African American. In navigating spaces, I found that, man, I had to face the fact that, okay, I'm scared, but I have to do something. And having role models like Wangari Maathai was very helpful, because you see a person who got a PhD from Pitt, not, you know, in like the 80s, and she was from Kenya. It makes you feel like, okay, I can do something, and somebody was courageous enough to make a move in this direction.
You mentioned music, you mentioned voice. Could you tell us more about your music?
I'm gonna just literally sing it for you right now, because for so long the people have been pressed down. The system got me wonder where to break down. Sun up to sundown, working for my ransom, trying not to feel like I'm let down, but moving forward as I sway to the beat, and finding my position as I prepare the heat. Swaying to the rhythm, feeling how I flow. I won't leap a concrete waves I swim through, so it's straight to the roots I go. Mine's elevated, it's love related, and it's straight to the roots I go. As you can tell, a song is really about getting to like the root of the issues, the matters that really, things that really matter. Part of finding the voice is really bringing your true and most authentic self to the space, because then it allows people to come in their true and most authentic self into the space.
By the way, I just heard Clara exhale as that end, the relief of that being over. But I actually want to invite Venny, Sarah, Clara, Erica up here onto the stage. If you could come on up, cheer for them. They're amazing. And there's stairs up here. Awesome. Because I think one thing that's really important to recognize is not only that they are all heroes in their own right, but also that each of them started out as students, as community members, as people being inspired. First of all, look at Clara. I was ready to give them a mic, all of them. But Clara has her own mic. Is your mic on, by the way? Oh, cool, awesome. So something I want to do really briefly. One, could we just give another round of applause to... And I think one thing I just want to underscore before I ask them all one question, and we'll go, Clara, I mean, you have the mic, so I guess you have to start. But, you know, like anyone could be up here in these spots. Any of you could be up here in these spots because of the story that you have, because of the impact you're making. So often when we talk about heroes, that seems like something that's really exclusive and exclusionary in some ways, but I think now more than ever, and just in general, like looking at the climate crisis, we need more people to show up as heroes, and that starts with believing that you're a hero, which often begins with seeing people who you relate to and who you connect with in different ways. And so, I know I was telling you before, I was like, what's the question I'm asking you? But the thing I want to ask each of you, just to share from your journey now, especially because behind the scenes, I know none of you would realize this looking at any of us, but we recorded those interviews 3 years ago. Just spoiler alert. So a lot has changed and evolved, and we've all grown a lot. But I want to ask you, like from your journey, especially with a sea of educators here in the room, like what is it that really effectively worked to engage you in this? And is there any insight or anything you'd want to share with them that's like a tip for how to engage someone like you?
That's a hard question. I don't even know.
Hey, you're all ready.
I'm shaking in my boots. So, does anybody else want to go first? 'Cause I'm still answering it.
You're good. Yes. So the question is, like, what was it that engaged you in making an impact when it comes to the climate? And any advice you have for folks as they engage their communities and students, they could hopefully make an impact like you are.
One thing I would like to say, don't look at the bigger picture. That bigger picture will eventually turn out when you are paying attention to small things. For small things, I mean people. I am in a field where I work for carbon emissions, for these reporting, but I feel satisfied when I work with people. When people are happy, when they are being noticed, when we work for a community where many things on a local basis, they are met, that's where the climate change begins. Sustainability, it's not about environment, it's about people, it's about where we live, and it's about the impact, what we bring.
I kind of, this feels a little bit like a pageant or something as everyone comes up. But we're all, we're all winners in this, right? Yeah, go for it, Clara.
Honestly, what got me into this was anxiety. It's so interesting. For me, I think I grew up in Uganda, and I was in an all-girls Christian high school, a boarding school. And it's not like the US boarding schools with a lot of money. Like we were waking up at 6 o'clock and cleaning, but then I used to dream of the world ending. Can you imagine? And so, because I was like, oh, I'm gonna die and just go to heaven. I don't have to deal with everything else. But every time I thought about the climate, the anxiety of not having an Earth, the anxiety of maybe seeing a meteorite, that's honestly, unfortunately, what activated my nerve to just be like, I'm gonna respond and at least be part of a solution so I'm not panicking every time I wake up. But what kept me engaged was actually connecting with other people in the field. I see one of my colleagues at work here. Shout out to you, Maeve. So having friends who I could share that anxiety with helped me to continue to find my voice in this. And I think over time, I'm able to actually use my anxiety as an activation to move forward versus getting stuck and not doing anything about it. And Wangari Maathai, honestly, when she got those women, they were in Kenya. I don't know if you heard about that story where the government was going to cut down a park in Kenya. And she had these women almost strip, like take their clothes off. You, as an African man, do not want to see your mother's breasts. And that action alone stopped the trees from being cut down. And to me, that takes a lot of courage. And so that kind of mentor really helped me move through.
Oh, it's amazing.
So I alluded to it, and you saw it in the video. It was about things I saw when I was working as an architectural designer in New York. But it's children. I always volunteered with kids. I taught Sunday school. I was in the youth choir. I just love helping them because they're so refreshing, right? Adults, we get jaded because we know about the real stress of life. But kids they're just so totally honest. And they're our future. And so it was, how can we help provide a great education for everyone? And then one of the things that kept me engaged is my children. So actually, when I watched that video, I was just pregnant. Wow. And I told you afterwards, I was having morning sickness, and I was like, and I was just hoping and praying it wouldn't happen in the middle of the video. That's what was going through my mind. Please keep it down, keep it down. But now it's also my children and other people's children, and just thinking, this is what we're doing it for. We're doing it for all these wonderful kids who are small and little and precious, and how can we not but help make a world better for them? And then I think about my family. One of my words was family. Who inspired me? It's family. I remember my great-grandmother being able to write, and this is a woman whose older siblings were enslaved people, and talking about the things she did just to learn to write at a time when it was illegal and it wasn't taught. And then she had 12 children, and they saved all their money so that the youngest 3 could go to college. And my grandmother, who was around during the Depression, was like, yeah, so what you do is you never let the fire go out. You put some soot on the log, and that'll keep the house warm through the night.
Wow.
Just hearing all these techniques. And as an adult, I realized the things that they did because they were poor, but they didn't know they were poor. That was just how everyone was living. But those were sustainable techniques. But they didn't call it sustainability, they just called it living. That was just what you did to live. And so even, I remember my dad, he would always say, close the door, we're not trying to heat the street. That's what he would tell me. But that was sustainability. Don't leave your door open. We would weatherize our house, but we didn't call it weatherization. He was just like, we're not heating the street this winter. And so those are the things that just keep me going. The memories of my great-grandmother and my grandmother and the things my dad continues to tell me, they're in my head. And then I look at my sons and I say, I'm doing this for them. And hopefully they'll repeat something I say. Hopefully I say something wise to them one day. But that's what continues to inspire me. And I think one of the reasons why I became a teacher is because I love that every year there's like a new crop of people coming through asking questions. And I know they're going to go off in the world and like change the total world. And then also just working with so many people, like everyone on this stage and all the people in the Rolodex where I can just call them and say, hey, I've got this idea. Like Sarah, who's in the room from FIPS, hey, who I can call and say, hey, I got an idea. You down? Let's go do it. And that's what keeps me going.
Thanks for giving me the most time to think about my answer, and about a million different things came through my head, so hopefully this is a little bit inspiring closure to the question. And to remind ourselves, how did this start is what keeps me engaged, and what helps, and I'll add, what helps me engage others that are entering this space that I work in. And I think that it's the ability to be special. Everybody who does something in this space, in the climate change and environmental work, your students and the people that work in this space can become the best at something. They can become the innovators on something. They can do something that no one else has ever done on this. Maybe it's only in their community, maybe it's in the world, but there's so much innovation, so much exciting stuff happening here that's what is so cool about this. And I had the ability to just randomly become known in small circles as the mother of workplace charging. The idea that we would have electric vehicle charging at workplaces, that's so random, but I became that person, and people knew me for it for a while. And then it got to be so common that it wasn't that big of a deal. But I have a young coworker who just started out of college, and we were talking about a project he was working on, and I said, Sam, you have the ability to be the expert on this. You can own this, you can drive it, you can drive the solution, you can make this happen, and it's gonna be yours. It's gonna be because you did it, no one else has, and no one else but you can. So do it, and that's just it in this space. If you tell your students that that's what they can do in this space, because they can, we need them to, that's gonna be so impactful.
Wow. Thank you. Oh, you hold on to it. Your mic. It's Clara's mic. Awesome. Just thank you so much all for sharing. And I think the part that I hope folks could take away is that everyone has their own path, their own inspiration. And sometimes there's no cookie cutter thing. Like everyone has their own special, unique way of showing up. And so, don't leave. We're going to take a group picture in a second. But one thing I want to do, just to pivot in a second, if we could pull up the slides, is to ask all of you to consider this question. How might the stories you're hearing today inspire you to think about your power and your students' power? So think about that for a second. What we're going to do is we're going to have about 5 minutes where you could talk with someone. Hopefully it's someone you don't know. It's okay if you know them, it's fine. But find someone to talk to, introduce yourself, connect, and talk about just what comes to mind. Could everyone do that? Could everyone do that for me? Awesome. Yeah, there we go. So, all right, I'm going to start. Watch, the music's going to start playing in a second, so that's your cue to start chatting. Awesome. Thank you, everyone. And Eric, come on up. Yeah, and if we could take a picture together. Eric's going to take a picture of us. Hello, everyone. Could you clap once if you could hear me? Oh, could you clap twice if you could hear me? 3 times if you could hear me. Could we just start clapping? This is fun. There we go. Awesome. Thank you so much, everyone. And I'm glad that you're able to have those conversations, connect with each other. Hopefully there's something really meaningful in that. But back to the action. And actually, what I want to talk about is we heard from some of the Drawdown's neighborhood interviewees, but really I want to get to talking about the power of youth a little bit and a little bit of a backstory around Drawdown's neighborhood. We've talked about the power of educators, but one person who actually was not included in the series, who I'd like to shout out, you know him, you love him, Pittsburgh, a Pittsburgher from Warren County, shout out, the one and only Taiji Nelson. And Taiji is someone who loves the planet, loves nature, loves the community, but I texted Taiji this today. This morning, I woke up and I had this thought. I was like, oh my gosh, we need a video of Taiji. But we didn't have a video of Taiji. We recorded an interview that helps me kind of figure out what Drawdown's neighborhood could be. And so this morning, I edited this video featuring Taiji. So let's take a look. This is also Taiji's first time seeing it. So there we go. Let's take a look.
I love it because it's a small enough town that you can kind of like get to know everybody, but it's a big enough city that there's actually like stuff going on. Pittsburgh has a strong like history of manufacturing. It's like steel country, it's coal country. So it's like manufacturing and energy actually. It's like a large part of our identity, and that comes with some baggage. That's like not a happy, proud story for everybody. It's like a place that we're like proud that we're willing to work. My name is Taiji Nelson. I am an educator and a facilitator. Actually, I grew up in rural Pennsylvania. I'm from this like small town, Warren, PA, in the middle of the National Forest. Many people have a connection to the land. That's important. It's like who I am. Who I am and who I think I am is maybe different than when I'm out on the trail, like what people see and like the questions I get or the looks I get and all that stuff. Like Asian people do this, gay people do this. It's not a thing. So I think it's like representation matters for everybody. Politically, I was just feeling the divide. I was feeling a lot of like hatred and competition. And I'd see social media and it'd be people in my hometown would be posting things about immigrants, about the environment, about people of color, about queer people. And these are people I know and I care about. And who is going to be that bridge? Who is going to like talk to like who? If not me, who? And if not now, when? I can't sit and wait for somebody else. Taiji, who else is gonna do it? And how do we make sure that we're like not trying to drag them along to what we wanna do, but really understand how what happens in rural communities fits in. So my career is all about creating comfortable spaces for uncomfortable conversations. Like I know as a young person, I experienced a lot of times where I really wanted to talk about something, but I was scared and I couldn't. And so I stayed quiet. My career is one to like bring people together around something that's important to them, creating a space where people feel like they can talk and trust one another and relate to one another, and then figure out how to make sure everybody feels heard. I think youth are like totally leading the way on the climate justice movement, like the protests, the people picketing and striking and like speaking up on social media in person. Like youth are leading the way, and we know that like they don't want us to be proud of them, or they don't want us to be like, oh, you give me so much hope for the future. What they want is for us to do something. And I just like would love to have that magic wand and be like, keep speaking up. This is so important. There are lots of people out there that want to hear what you have to say. And there are people who will help you through those times when you encounter someone who doesn't want to hear what you have to say. Because there are people out there who are not going to be listening. But that doesn't make it any less important to speak up. And I am just continually impressed and in awe of people who are willing to go out of their way, be a little uncomfortable, and speak up when they see something going wrong. And there's stuff going wrong, and it's an opportunity to fix it. And I think we can build a better world.
Just a big round of applause for Taiji. And again, we recorded that 3.5 years ago. And it's still so timely and so relevant and so important. So thank you for that. But now I want to welcome up a couple of folks, if you can come on up, who are part of Pittsburgh Youth for Climate Action, because the youth are powerful. So here's this mic, and I'm going to give you the space to introduce yourself, because we didn't have videos for each of you, so go for it.
Hello, everyone. My name is Matilda. I am a senior at Pittsburgh Kappa, which is a creative and performing arts school, and I use any pronouns.
Hello, my name is Claire. I am 18. I am a senior at Taylor Alderdice High School in the Squirrel Hill neighborhood, and I use she, her pronouns.
Awesome. So thank you for being here, first and foremost. And first and foremost, I just want to give you some space to talk about how each of you are taking climate action.
Through Communitopia, we have been given the awesome experiences of planning the annual Pittsburgh Youth Climate Action Summits. So in the past, they've happened at the Convention Center, and it's a yearly event where around 100 youth come together, and we have breakout rooms, presentations from local organizations, and just different activities for youth to participate in.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, the summit is amazing. Claire's been doing it a couple years longer than I have, and I will say if you know any youth around Pittsburgh, high school age, we're also looking to maybe branch out to more middle school students this year. Definitely let them know about it. Keep up with the Communitopia website. I highly recommend it. Other than that, Claire and I both work at FIPS. We're part of the FIPS Youth Climate Advocacy Committee, which is a little bit of a tongue twister, but I've said it many times at this point. And I'm a youth leader for that program, so I work on the organization of those meetings. Yeah, so we both work a lot in education, and we made a documentary last year.
We don't. I wish I could look. Oh, there it is. But we don't have.
There would be so much video. I would have told you. Yeah. We made a documentary about lawn to meadow conversion and native plants. So it's called Lawn to Meadow: Why Your Lawn is Killing Us. You can find it on YouTube. And yeah, that's my plug for our documentary.
I do really regret not having a clip from that to go to. But here we are. But yeah, so obviously I connected with you just virtually before this about what I was hoping for within this space. And even just transparently, some of the questions I had in mind were like, what are, from your perspectives and your experiences, what are adults, including educators, doing well when it comes to engaging youth, and what can they do better? So maybe we just start out with that, but I also don't want to restrict you if there's anything else you want to say with that. So want to go for it, Claire?
Yeah, so for me, one of the biggest things is not just focusing on the doom and gloom. There's a lot of downsides in our society, but it's really important to focus on the upsides and the positives, because kids don't just want to listen and hear all the bad things, because then they think there's no way to solve the issues and that there's no way to get things done, but that's not true. So education-wise, it's really important to focus on what we can do and that not everything is, completely gone bad.
Mm. Yeah, go for it, Matilda.
I agree with Claire. I also think it's really important for educators to platform youth. I've been with a lot of great organizations and organizers. Shout out to Sharda and Young, who are both here today, who have been leads for PICA. And everyone who I've worked with has been really good about giving space for youth to do what they want and having youth leadership involved with whatever organization, planning, and education that they have done.
Yeah, I honestly feel like I could just sit back and listen to you sharing. But I'll ask you the last question, and then obviously if there's anything else you want to share, I want you to have that space. But I wonder what advice you would have for educators to better engage you and students like you and your peers. You can answer that question or whatever you want to. I'm just like, I want to make sure that really there's the space for anything that's on your heart, even beyond the questions, for you to share with folks.
I mean, a big thing for me too is just outreach. Like, I feel like the climate community, a lot of times, it's very like white-centered, and it's centered in specific schools, but there's still a lot of areas that aren't being reached, that aren't being taught. So it's really important to go to those areas and realize that we all have different education levels. Like, you can't just start explaining things to people, because you have to realize that not everybody understands where you're coming from. Not everybody understands the same level of climate education that you understand. So for some people, you just have to start from a ground level. And you can't like judge other people for not understanding, because a lot of people just haven't been taught. So you can't just go in and be like, how do you not know this? Or you're being like really inconsiderate, because some people just genuinely don't understand because they just haven't been taught.
I agree with that. I think on a specific thing that I've found in that area is like jargon. I've gone to a lot of climate meetings where even if I understand what's being said, I can also tell that some of the words used are more advanced or really specific to a topic, and not everyone is picking up what the person is putting down. This is not to say that specific words are bad. I'm a lover of a good specific word. Earlier today I used the word Rube Goldberg machine. Can you raise your hand if you know what that is?
Yeah, that's the thing with
Yay! Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a really complicated machine that will have a lot of moving parts. Like, you set some dominoes toppling, and then they make a marble roll down a track that like puts food in a dog's bowl. It's like every Scooby-Doo trap ever. I use that word in just a class with my classmates, and I watched all of them just like stare at me blank-faced, and I went, "Do you guys know what that word means?" And they just sort of shook their heads. So it's that sort of principle of being open and defining words and recognizing when students aren't understanding the material presented.
Yeah, thank you for that. And just one thing that I'll just share is that, you know, like I usually mention this, but something I like to point out, like, I was so bad at science class in school, like embarrassingly bad. And there are actually a couple of things that I've realized since. Like, one is that a lot of that's just about how it was taught or even how my brain works. But also that, like, different people need different approaches. Like, sometimes, some communities, some spaces, you could go in with the Rube Goldberg, like, vocabulary example. Other times you need to break that down. And that's like, I mean, the word that comes to mind is accessibility. Like, how do we make these spaces more accessible? And I actually think of someone who's in the room who probably doesn't know I'm gonna mention them right now, but Finn Does, who is here, who was organizing through the Bay Area Youth Climate Summit and just doing other incredible work at UC Berkeley, shout out. And like, there's so many examples where we don't have spaces for youth to participate and engage. And so, one, I'm glad that you could be here, but also I feel like all of us could do better with that. So hopefully more folks could partner with Pittsburgh Youth for Climate Action. Anything you want to like promote or mention just before I continue on with the program?
I just want to give a shout out to all of you educators, because I wouldn't be here if it weren't for my teachers or my educators. So you guys are amazing. You guys are heroes. It can be a tough job out there, but you should be very proud of yourselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I will first really quick say on something Clara was saying earlier about climate anxiety, that's something really important with youth as well. I've seen it a lot with my peers who are not they're not doing doomerism, but they're like teetering on the edge. And to say again what Claire just said beautifully, you guys have all really helped me through anxiety that I have had. And I, again, just thank all of you so much for the education you have provided.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Can we just give it up for the two of them? Awesome, and thank you so much. Please return to your seats. I'm gonna end the program. I didn't have a graceful way of doing that. I also feel bad kicking them off the stage because they got more cheers than I ever could, but it's okay. No, I'm okay. It's, oh no, not that. But no, thank you everyone for all of this. And just as we wrap up, to go back to the slides and all on the screen, let me just click ahead here. So I asked you this question and you all connected with each other about it a bit earlier. How might the stories you're hearing inspire you to think about your power and your students' power? And I hope that even what you've heard from just from all of us since then, what you heard from Taiji's story is something that could leave you with something that's having you feeling your power. Me. On the count of three, could we just say power again? 1, 2, 3. Power! Oh, that felt really good, but we're gonna do one more. Just in case you're not feeling it, I was just tearing up a second ago a little bit just because, you all are already making an impact. I feel like, just before I go back to the power thing, I think of my mom, who was an educator for so long, and so often she'd come home and we'd talk at dinner table conversations about the blank stares or the just the students not appreciating your impact. And one thing I want to share that I've been just sharing with folks more often lately is that so often we don't know the impact that we have on people. So often we don't know the ways that us doing one little thing or having one conversation or making an hour on Zoom or sitting down for an interview for however long could make an impact. And so I just want you all to know that hopefully you're hearing from people with the gratitude of how you're showing up and the difference you're making, but the impact you're making is so much bigger than you'll ever know. And so on the count of three, could we just say power? 1, 2, 3. Power! Woo! Could you give it up for yourselves? And to really, before we close it out, because I just want to point to a link, and then I'm going to welcome up somebody who you've heard from already to do a little bit of a performance. But this is a link I put up on the screen, linktr.ee/Project Drawdown. And I'll show you what's on that link in a second. I don't know if anyone wants to take a picture of it or whatever. Happy to point folks to it or tell you that link after if you don't capture it. But this link actually includes a ton of resources that I've shared for years. So I've been updating it more and more with resources for educators or that educators bring into the classroom. And so just to give you a sense of what's on that, here is a bit of a screen grab of that page, and you'll see there's some of our Drawdown storytelling related resources like Drawdown's Neighborhood, the Global Solutions Diary, which is an opportunity for people to take out your phone and submit your own climate story, so check that out. There are more resources from Project Drawdown listed out, all of them linked to drawdown.org, and then other resources like Subject to Climate, the Solutions Journalism Network, Climate Generation, the Yale Program on Climate Change Communications Education Resources, Drawdown Eco Challenge, ChangeX, the Climate Action Venn diagrams. So those are just some of the resources that I've been sharing with folks, and so those are at linktr.ee/Project Drawdown. But Clara, it's your moment, because obviously we started with song, we have to end with song, so come on up, Clara Katango. So I know you're doing a couple of songs, and this is all you. I'm gonna move out of the way, unless you need a backup dancer. You know where to find me.
You can, you can dance. I'm just in awe of the youth. You are the future. We could just sit here and just listen to you. So thank you for being here. Okay, so this song is Fire on the Mountain. You talked about not thinking about doom and gloom, but this is this song is really old, but it's so relevant even right now. It just never ages. And I was hoping it would become irrelevant, but it's still so relevant. So I'm going to sing it, and I hope you can connect. This lady who sang it is called Asa. She's from Nigeria. Let's go. Ooh, boy, oh, There is fire on the mountain, and nobody seems to be on the run. Oh, there is fire on the mountain top, and no one is running. I wake up in the morning, tell me what I see on my TV screen. I see the blood of an innocent child, and everybody's watching. Now I'm looking out my window, and what do I see? I see an army of a soldier man marching across the street. Hey, hey, Mr. Soldier Man, tomorrow is the day you go to war, but you are fighting for another man's cause, and you don't even know him. Ooh, what did he say to make you so blind to your conscience and reason? Could it be love for your country or for the gun you use in killing? So there is fire on the mountain, and nobody seems to be on the run. Oh, there is fire on the mountain top, and no one is running. Hey, Mr. Loverman, can I get a chance to talk to you? 'Cause you are fooling with a dead man's cause, and you don't know what you do. So you say you have a lover, and you love her like no other. So you buy her a diamond while someone is dying. Oh, don't you think there's something wrong with this? Tell me, who's responsible for what we teach our children? Is it the internet or the stars on television? Why? Oh, why? Why? Oh, why? Oh. So little Lucy turned 16, and like the movie she's been seeing, she has a lover in her daddy, but she can't tell nobody till she makes the evening news. For there is fire on the mountain, and nobody seems to be on the run. Oh, there is fire on the mountain top, and no one is running. Oh, one day the river will overflow, and there'll be nowhere for us to go, and we will run, run, wishing we had put out the fire. Oh God, there is fire on the mountain, and nobody is on the run. There is fire on the mountain top, and no one is running. Oh, there is fire on the mountain, and nobody's on the run. There's fire on the mountain, and no one is running. Fire on the mountain, nobody seems to be on the run. But we're running. We're gonna put out the fire, right? We're not gonna let the mountain burn. And this is the final song. This, I hope, can root you. This is Straight to the Roots. This is an original composition. And I want to teach you the chorus before I sing the song. Is that okay? So, and I think we're at literally a minute, so This is straight to the roots I go. Straight to the roots I go. All right, ready? Again. Straight to the roots I go. Straight to the roots I go. I think I'm going to do this song a cappella, okay? I'm going to just snap. You just have to not stop snapping. Is that okay? I have to hear you snap. Straight to the roots I go. Straight to the roots I go. Oh, y'all so good. You're our musicians, okay? Straight to the roots I go. Mine's elevated, it's love related. Straight to the roots I go. You can snap or you can clap. Let's go. For so long the people have been pressed down. The system got me wondering where to break down. Sun up to sundown, working for my ransom, trying not to feel like I'm a letdown, but moving forward as I sway to the beat and finding my position as I prepare the heat. Swaying to the rhythm, feeling how I flow. A whole heap of concrete waves I swum through. So straight to the roots I go. Mine's elevated, it's love related. Come on, straight to the roots I go. One more time, let's sing it like we have all the power in the world. Come on. Straight to the roots I go. Mine's elevated, it's love related, and it's straight to the roots I go. No barriers they put up will ever block us. If we unite, there is no way they can stop us. United we will stand, divided we will fall. We got to find the rhythm as we sway. Deep in we're reaching back to the surface. Problems don't see them, our hearts never nervous. Back to the roots, to that peaceful place. Let's jam together like the rhythm and the bass. Straight to the roots we go. Mine's elevated, it's love related. Straight to the roots we go. Yeah, yeah, sing it with your heart. Go straight to the roots we go. Mine's elevated, it's love related. Straight to the roots we go. Yes, are you ready? Thank you.
Clara, you can hold on.
Thank you.
Give it up for Clara. Wait, don't go anywhere. Clara, come back. If you want to bow or anything like that. But thank you so much, everyone, just for being here, for this time, for this space, for singing. You all need to do a collab. You need to collab. And again, Clara, maybe you could join me in this, because you know we have to have everyone say the word power again at the end.
On the mic?
Yeah, I don't know if there's anything you want to say before we get to that point, though. Like, any just final words, final encouragement, because we're at time.
We are at time. I will say, okay, I'm Buddhist, and I believe in the law of life, cause and effect. To me, that gives me such power, because I know that life will move forward. The sun is going to rise in the east and set in the west. If you stand on the roof, you're going to quickly learn about gravity. You're going to know it if you believe it or not. So I think no matter how people may be feeling, in whichever way you're standing with the election, no one is going to call out things. Remember that we are governed by the law of life, which means if we're doing things in line with that, we're going to make a change. So don't be swept. Of course, be where you need to be, but don't forget who you are. And don't forget your mission here. And it's much bigger and deeper. And if you can tap into that source, whatever practice you do, that can ground you in who you really are so that you can face the storms that life has put in front of you for the sake of the future, we can do it together. So with that, I'm going to wrap it up.
You do the count, 1, 2, 3.
All right.
3, we'll do power.
On 3, we'll do power. You ready? Don't got me. I'm not going to even say it on my mic. I'm just going to put it down. So 1, 2, 3.
Power! Yes. Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your night.
Thank you. Woo! Let's give it up for Matt Scott, y'all. Everybody.
Thank you, everyone. I know.